Good afternoon and welcome to RMIT City Journal. I'm Meg Whitfield.
And I'm Lisa Divissi. Coming up.
It's been 6 months since the fire that devastated Little Saigon Market in Footscray. For those affected by the blaze, it's been a waiting game, with local business owners saying they're in the dark regarding the market's potential reconstruction.
But first, students will be feeling the pinch under the government's new federal budget. With fees set to increase and help repayments to kick in earlier, studying might not be so popular. Cass Grimes reports.
Lockie, Vermont is one of thousands of students who wants to go to university. But the Turnbull government's plan to slash $2.8 billion from higher education funding means he might not be able to afford it.
To get a job these days, you do need a degree and a certificate of something, and the price went up and less people will be able to afford it, and just makes it all a lot harder.
Students can expect to contribute anything between $2,000 and $3,500 more for a 4-year course. University of Melbourne Student Union President Yan Zhuang is appalled by what she sees as a targeting of students already doing it tough.
We think it's quite disgraceful that the government is cutting funding for universities and for students while giving big businesses a tax break.
They'll also be repaying their debt much sooner than their predecessors, with the help repayment threshold falling to $42,000 per year. While these fee increases are less significant than previous changes, combined with the lowered threshold for help repayments, they may prove a deterrent to study, or make undertaking a degree prohibitive for prospective students. Tom Bentley from the Policy and Impact team at RMIT says the changes are unwelcome but not enormous, and that the university will work with students to minimise their impact.
In the context of everything that RMIT provides and the size of higher education in Australia, so far these changes are not huge.
The government also insists these changes are fair. Over a 4-year period, a university degree will be about $17 more expensive per week, which it says is reasonable. But students are still concerned.
I'm very worried about what this budget means for students and the quality of their education.
The University of Melbourne Student Union is sending postcards to Parliament, hoping to persuade crossbenchers to block the government's proposals. If they're unsuccessful, students will have no choice but to pay up, if they still want to study. Cass Grimes, The City Journal.
New regulations have been proposed for homeschooling families this year, prompting a campaign of discontent by concerned parents. Hundreds of submissions have been made to the Department of Education by families who see the reforms as a threat to individualised learning. Maeve Crowley has the story.
Of the 900,000 school-age students in Victoria last year, more than 4,000 were educated at home. In these household classrooms, parents have been able to decide how and what their children learn. But with new regulations proposed this year, that may just change.
But it was the birth of our national identity. So what they want is for school at home to be school at home, not interest-driven education.
Reforms will require new homeschooling parents to provide a 1-year learning plan for their children, which may be reviewed to ensure students are receiving a well-rounded education. But many parents are concerned by the proposed measures.
Are too strict, too draconian, and they're out of touch with the reality of education, full stop, let alone home education.
During an extended period of public consultation, the Department of Education received over 500 submissions, many of which came through the Hands Off Home Ed campaign launched by the Home Education Network.
Well, we were hoping to persuade them that there are reasons that people home educate, which mean that it is essential children can get out of school quickly.
Bullying, mental health and special needs requirements are some of the most common reasons cited by parents exiting the mainstream schooling system.
I had to pull my child out for her own mental health and well-being, and I firmly believed that I was saving her life.
But under these reforms, parents will not be able to remove their children from classes until a homeschooling application has been officially approved. This has concerned many parents who fear for children being left in unsuitable school conditions. Current regulations for homeschooling were put in place in 2007 and will expire in June of this year. In a statement released to City Journal, the Department of Education has called the reforms an opportunity to improve on current home education standards. While the department has acknowledged that most homeschooling families are doing a good job, they say regulations will help ensure that every child gets a good education, whether that's in the classroom or learning at home. If approved, reforms will be put in place at the beginning of next year. Maeve Crowley, RMIT.
With more and more refugees migrating to our country, the transition into Australian life can be hard. Our reporter Jack Hayes has gone inside one organisation that is helping our new neighbours call Australia home.
10 years ago, Mumu was at a crossroads in her life. either stay with her family in a refugee camp in remote Burma or leave for the bustling streets of Melbourne. As she will tell you, luckily for her, she chose the latter.
It's really hard to leave, and then I left home and came to live in a refugee for 4 years. It was really hard.
Mumu is now head barista at the Social Studio, a not-for-profit enterprise that gives skills to migrants from all corners of the earth. According to CEO Eugenia Flynn, running the program definitely has its hurdles.
One of our limitations is our premises. We're, quite a small space physically, so if we could take on more students physically, we would, but we can't.
The Social Studio has offered professional development for over 580 migrants through either fashion, textiles or hospitality, providing them with a creative voice that would otherwise not be heard.
Good quality work, long-term relationships, deepening our impact, doing what we do just that little bit better so that people can have better social outcomes.
According to Ms Flynn, by providing vocational training, the Social Studio has endeavoured to break the cycle of displacement in these communities. For refugees like Moose, whose families are on the other side of the planet, the Social Studio has become a home away from home, providing her not only with a sustainable source of income, but a sense of belonging in a new Australian community.
It's like family here. It's like my second home. I stay here more than I stay home.
It has been a long journey from her humble beginnings in rural Burma. Moo never thought she would be living in Melbourne, let alone managing her own cafe. But as fate would have it, she is here, and she is here to stay.
Maybe in the future, if I can open my own cafe or something like that. Yeah.
This has been Jack Hayes for City Journal News.
Nearly 6 months after the blaze that destroyed Little Saigon Market, the road to recovery is slow. Lisa Divissi has this update.
Nearly 6 months on, and the burnt-out shell of Little Saigon Market remains a blot on the landscape.
I lost everything.
Last year, Tan Toa lost her business and $100,000 worth of stock.
I don't earn anything. 6 months unemployed, so I come here and help my sister.
All she can do is wait.
We claim the insurance, but we wait. Yeah, we wait for the legal process.
Pharmacist Michael Abelman, whose business is just across the road, is another casualty of the waiting game.
There's nobody walking in the streets anymore.
Everyone here can see the amount of people coming here to buy and sell has dropped by 50%.
Ben Lay co-owns the market and says when it comes to the demolition and rebuild, he is powerless to fix the problem.
Everything is in the hand of the insurance company,
leaving Tan Toa in limbo.
So I don't know what's going on. Whenever, whatever.
Michael Abelman says no one has kept him up to date with developments.
Zero. There is no news from council. In fact, today was the first thing I heard about anything. And it looks like the only news is there is no news.
Maribyrnong City Council has told RMIT News that it plans to set up a makeshift Little Saigon in this car park here at the end of June. But as to when the original market will reopen...
That I don't know. I don't know.
Lisa Divissi, RMIT News. Local women's football clubs are undergoing a boom following the success of the AFLW competition. But the hike in numbers may put a strain on resources around the state. Alex Linton reports.
Local women's football clubs have been brought in from the wilderness following the success of the AFLW competition. Nationally televised women's football has meant swarms of new players are flocking to their local clubs.
I think the first Carlton-Collingwood game was played on the Saturday night, and mine and my wife's phones didn't stop on the Sunday. They rang all day.
But Victoria may not be able to cater to the newfound popularity of women's football.
So AFL Victoria have done a study, and by 2020 they believe there will be a shortage of 108 ovals in the Melbourne metropolitan area because of the growth of women's footy.
Despite the success of the AFLW, the days of rattling tins may not be over for women's football clubs. Now the expectation will be that they are more professional and better resourced.
In any women's VFL club is that we will have to meet the resourcing of a males AFL club within the next 2 or 3 years. So a ground like this wouldn't be suitable.
With more clubs needing multiple or larger grounds, there may not be enough ovals to go around. And now clubs fear being expected to lift professionalism may leave them behind.
Some of the other clubs in the VFL this year are flagging that within 2 years they won't be in VFL because they won't be able to have the resourcing to meet those standards.
Existing without the help of an AFLW club may no longer be possible, with clubs needing to merge.
It's not surprising. We know Melbourne Uni are very closely aligned with North Melbourne, and if my mail is correct, I expect them in 2018 to either be playing as Melbourne Uni or rebranded officially as North Melbourne, playing out of Arden Street Oval.
Clubs are not able to keep up with the rising standards on their own and will be forced to either merge or fold. Now, clubs are scrambling to keep up with the accelerated expansion of the AFLW.
Again, because AFLW was moved forward 3 years, everything at the moment with women's football feels like, and it certainly is, being done on the fly.
The onus is now on both the clubs and the AFLW to ensure that clubs keep up with the growth of the women's game. Alex Linton, RMIT News.
That's it for this episode of RMIT City Journal Video News. Go to our website at cityjournal.net for more news, or join us on Facebook by searching City Journal RMIT. I'm Lisa Divissi.
And I'm Meg Whitfield. Thanks for joining us, and see you next time.